Boker Tov, we are continuing in Shir HaShirim, Perek Chet, Pasuk Chet. Achot lanu ketana, v'shadayim en la, ma na'aseh lachotenu bayom, sheyedubar ba. So the translation, our sister is small, v'shadayim en la, and she's underdeveloped. Ma na'aseh lachotenu, what will be with our sister, bayom, sheyedubar ba, on the day that they speak about her, on the day that they speak about her for her marriage, she's underdeveloped, she's still small. So, from this point till the end of the Shir HaShirim, it's now in our story where we have Bnei Israel as like the wife, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the husband, and now they're coming close to the highest level of love, and now Hashem turns, the Mefarshim explain, this pasuk is talking about Hashem turns to the Malachim, and says to them, okay, I'm ready to bring the Geulah, I'm ready to bring Mashiach, but our sister is very small, meaning they're still small in mitzvot. They might want it, they might want to get married, but they're still small, they're still underdeveloped. What am I going to do? What are we going to do to our sister to raise her up to the level of me bringing the Shekhinah to this world, of me bringing the Beit HaMikdash to this world? They're underdeveloped. What am I going to... And the next pasuk as well for tomorrow continues on this vein, and then Bnei Israel speak up. In two psukim, Ani choma v'shadai kamigdalot. No, I'm strong. I am developed. Bnei Israel is going to say, we're going to get there in 2 days. But at this point, Hashem is saying, I want to bring the Mashiach. But they're still underdeveloped, meaning underdeveloped in knowledge, underdeveloped in the level of tzaddikim, underdeveloped in leaders. And how am I going to bring the Shekhinah here? Rashi also adds that, like, it's also a compliment for us that we are kitana, that we are maktin ourselves, we're humble, we're a very humble people, and that's like a zechut for us. So the Sefer Rokeach over here, he says as follows. He says, Achot lanu ketana v'shadayim en is the gematria hi Knesset Yisrael. This is referring to Knesset Bnei Israel, and he says that especially with Yeridat HaDorot, that every generation is less than the generation previous, as we move along in history, we're smaller and smaller as far as our level. And it's very hard. And also the Shadaim, the breasts, are a form of where it feeds to the next generation, to the child. So we're small and we're not feeding. They might be Talmidei Chachamim, but who are the students? There's not that many students. It's as the generations go on that you might learn, but you don't have students. And the Sefer Rokeach connects to various Chachamim of the past, like Daniel and Chizkiah, that were great on their own, but they didn't have students to continue in their time. And he says the last letters of the words V'shadayim en la is Mem, Nun, and Hey, which is the gematria of Daniel. Also, Lanu Ketana, the first two letters, Lamed Kuf, is the gematria of Chizkiah. But he also says that in different times in our history, we also had a young one that was connected, but was young because they didn't have much of an infrastructure to help them connect to Hashem, which is number one is Avraham Avinu. He was Yachid Bedoro, so he was like a young. So Lanu Ketanaz Gematria Avraham. And Beyom Sheyedu Barba, what are we going to do in the day that he was thrown into the Kivshan Ha'esh, he was thrown into the fire? What are we going to do? How are we going to save him? He's the only one. He's young and he's the only one. And Hashem saved him. It's another take to this pasuk. Also, Achot Lanu is referring to Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, that also got thrown in. What are we going to do to save them? What are we going to do? And Hashem saves them. Also, Achot Lanu is Daniel that got thrown into the Gova Arayot, into the pit with lions, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu saved him. And so too in the time of Mordechai and Esther, we were on a low level. V'shadayim en la, those last three letters is V'shadayim is Mem, En is Nun, La is a Hey, that's Haman. They say in the pasuk V'shadayim en la is Haman, where we were in a time of Haman that we were on a low level. Shadayim en la, we stooped to a very low level. Yet Hashem pulled us out. The Gaon Mevilna has two explanations. One is two explanations to this pasuk. One is in line with what we were saying until now, that this is HaKadosh Baruch Hu talking to the Malachim and saying that I want to bring Mashiach, but Achot Lanu Ketana is referring to that they don't have as much Torah as they should. V'shadayim en la, is that they don't have as many mitzvot as they should. Torah mitzvot are lacking. How are we going to bring the Beit HaMikdash? He has another explanation. His other explanation is that this is Bnei Israel talking to Hashem in reference to other Jews that had to live as Jews in hiding. And this was more prevalent in the past, for sure in Spanish Inquisition, Moranos, and even in Europe. There's a halakha when it comes to lighting of the menorah. So we light by the window, etc. The Ramah, Rabbi Moshe Isserlish, 500 years ago in Europe, says our custom is we light it on the table in the middle of the house. Why? Because it's dangerous. You're going to put a menorah on your thing. That's an invitation for anti-Semitism. Invitation for people to break your window. So things were in a way moderated, or people had to live in fear so people weren't able to express their Judaism freely. Maybe there could have been generations in certain places that they didn't go to shul, or they didn't because of these fears. So what? Yeah, in certain places, yeah. So here Bnei Israel is saying, Achot lanu ketana, we have a sister, meaning we have a part of our nation that is small, meaning they've gone for generations maybe, where they were living in oppression, they couldn't express their Judaism properly, and how could they really develop in hiding as Talmidei Chachamim or Torah scholars? They didn't have schools, how could they develop? And then in two Pesukim, that's where that voice is going to come and say, no, Ani choma v'shadai kamigdalot, I am big, and I'll show you, and from those are going to emerge people that say, no, I was still committed throughout the ages, I still kept Pesach, and I still lit candles, and I still did things to show my commitment. And this is where Hashem says, wow, they are committed, they are connected, they are actually much bigger than I thought. And then, Bezrat Hashem, very soon, Hashem will bring the Shekhinah in its fullest form with the Mashiach Tzidkenu, B'mehera v'yamen, amen. Rabbi Chanan Yaman Hashem Ratzak Kadosh Baruch Hu zakot, et Yisrafiach Achi Ba'adam Tram So Shneimar, Adonai Hafetz Ma Tzidko, Yigdil Torah v'yadir.